Tell me about this beard.
The beard?
Yeah, tell me about the beard.
So, I just have been off for so long. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna grow a beard.
I like it. I mean, I like the beard.
Yeah, I like the beard too. I
like
wish
the
I could
beard.
bring it to work.
So why can't we bring it to work?
I guess NFPA has a problem with it.
It's not NFPA, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No?
I don't know what the standard, where the standard got met for facial hair, but you know we do these burns with volunteer crowds all the time, and dude, they'll look like the Robinson Duck Commander clan out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we go to these. Are you gonna make it? You just made that thing do a somersault. But yeah, we go to these stations or these other departments and do these burns, and they'll be bearded out, and
Yeah. Honest Abe.
seems to be fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't. The way I see it, if you can pass a fit test, then who's to tell you where the line is with can or can't have a beard?
Are these people taking fit tests? Maybe.
I mean,
I mean, I'm sure I could pass a fit test with this. You know, a big old beard. I don't know. Maybe.
yeah, I don't know either.
But you know, I think
never
it said,
done one.
It says what, like an inch or below your lip or something.
Well,
like,
that's our
but
policy.
that still doesn't.
That's
block
just our
your,
policy.
Your mask, because your mask goes under.
I think it's like 24-hour stubble too, or something like that, like 24-hour growth, or
Yeah. I don't know.
Opinion is a big part of it.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's got a lot to do with public image.
let's
Because I mean, this wasn't acceptable. What 5 years ago? You didn't look professional
Right.
like that.
we got to think about those policies were probably made decades ago. They were just transferred over from different departments in,
Yeah. Back when there was still a blue law.
A what?
Blue law?
Blue law?
and you didn't have, and you didn't have like advanced technology to test seals
Right.
and masks.
Yeah.
Blue law, educate me.
Oh.
Yeah. Come on.
Neither one of you?
No sir.
Yeah, hit me.
So blue law states, obviously it was not a written thing, but culturally the blue law was restaurants, stores, places of business were not open on Sundays. It was called the blue law. So you're supposed to be in church.
Gotcha.
You're not shopping. You're not doing stuff on Sundays. The only hangover from the blue law is you can't buy alcohol in this state on Sunday mornings.
Till noon.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock now.
10 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock now.
Ooh, it's a light blue law.
But you still can't get liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah, at all on Sunday. They're not even open.
But the
at all.
the brunch bill came out like 2 years ago, and that changed the time to 10 o'clock, I think.
Huh.
9 or 10 o'clock.
Need
Very
that morning whiskey.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you gotta get the mimosas.
Eggs and eggs.
I'm not having that conversation right now.
No.
I just got done having that conversation down the road this past week. So, yeah, our mental health training. So I had that conversation about your morning pick me up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, being one of the questions. Do you need a drink of alcohol in the morning to start your day?
Define need.
Right.
It depends on if I have to go to work or not.
Funny.
Are the kids waking up with that bullshit again? Yeah.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
So, so what's your theory on the? I like this facial hair conversation.
All right.
Because I can't grow it, so I'm fascinated by it.
I know.
But
Damn it.
so what's your theory with the history of the mustache in fire service? It's a staple for us.
It is.
Why?
I don't know, but I really enjoy it. And
So you do it because you think it looks cool? Or?
no, so at first I grew the mustache, and I was like, I don't know. You know, I wasn't so sure of it. And, you know, everybody gives you the, oh, man, that mustache looks cool, whatever. And you're like, whatever, you know, you're just messing around, whatever. But then, you know, I really got attached to it. And it's weird because, you know, people are just like, are you a fireman? And you're like,
Damn
yeah,
right.
yeah, I am. You know, like, I can tell by the mustache. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
maybe I should
shave this.
Thing, when I had that-
Maybe I should shave it.
Maybe
yeah.
I should shave it. But I don't know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that we should possibly in the future is make it part of the things we've discussed about the once a month items that we've talked about. We should somehow make that the mustache. We should use that somehow. I think it'd be kind of cool.
But don't you think it was a quintessential cop? The mustache was more of a cop thing previously, maybe in the last 20 years, 30 years ago. And then when did you see the shift, that transition to where firemen started? I think it was like in the late 2000s.
Did Ponch and John have mustaches?
I don't really know.
Chips.
Hitler
from
definitely
chips?
had.
Yeah, no
Hitler
chips.
did.
But
Yeah, narrow. Well, narrow one.
But like that, like the big, like the regular, but they weren't like what we got today. The fire department, we took it to a whole nother level.
Oh,
With,
yeah.
like, I mean, like fancy frills.
But isn't
and-
there some kind of history with it?
But
that
the
they
cops
used to
had,
use
like-
it.
the cops-
It served a purpose.
I think it was supposed to be a filter.
Yeah, some kind of like it served some supposed to be some kind of functional. I mean, that's the theory,
Let's
right?
ask,
Yeah.
We'll ask Chief your guy because he's still running that old filter.
That's a fact.
yeah,
That's definitely a filter. That's a
that's my thing. I can't stand. I got to trim it. It starts touching my lip.
yeah. I was the same way.
His is so far over.
Can't do it.
He has to lift it, I guess, to get food in. You know?
No, have you never watched Chief eat? When he goes, when we eat, we just go straight from fork right up to our mouth. He doesn't. He has to take a different route. It has to go under. And,
couldn't do
I've
it.
watched this
I
happen.
eat too much cereal for that.
You start seeing that thing move, like there's
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have a pile of Lucky Charms marshmallows like in front of my plate.
Oh, Chris Geary,
Yes, sir.
where do you live?
Where do I live?
Yeah, I know, but not everybody that listens knows.
Yeah.
You live in Wilmington.
Live in Wilmington.
All right.
Yep. Lived here for the last 12ish years.
Why? Why Wilmington?
So whenever my wife and I were married, we were living in Pennsylvania. She had always wanted to move to the beach. So whenever we started kicking around the idea of moving out of Pennsylvania, her friends had lived in Fuquay. So she's like, let's move to the Fuquay area, and I'm like, well, that's not really the beach.
Jesus.
I'm like, if we're going to move to the beach, I don't want to have to drive a couple hours to go to the beach,
Right.
So I was like, hey, I've been in the Wilmington on vacation once. It was a nice place. So we flew in the Fuquay. We came down to Wilmington, looked around, no kids, no nothing. We found a rental, signed a lease, flew back to Pennsylvania,
Time's up. Let's do this.
put in our 2-week notices,
Wow.
came here, no jobs, no nothing. So it worked out.
Damn, son.
What were you running from?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
I feel like that has to be a good follow-up question.
So, my wife Jen, she had moved around a little bit. She got out of high school. She moved to the Outer Banks, went down there for the summer, did the, kind of working at the Outer Banks. The only thing you could do is the summer. In the winter, there's nothing going on. So went back to Pennsylvania. Another summer, she lived in Ocean City, Maryland for the summer. So always about the beach, and really wanted to be around it. So that was completely her idea. I didn't know anything but Pennsylvania, so it worked out, and we love it.
Nice. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah.
Known you my entire
Glad
life
our
now.
kids are here. Glad our kids are born and raised here. So
So you work for the fire service. What made you? Do you have a fire service history in Pennsylvania?
yes, so growing up in Pennsylvania, there's I'm sure you all know, fire departments,
a rich
volunteer
fire
fire
culture, yeah.
departments, and they all have bars, they all have clubs, social halls, all this stuff.
Inside of the firehouses.
Some of them. So I had zero reason to ever become a fireman. Nobody in my family, or no, I take that back. Actually, just found out not long ago. Like one of my great uncles was a firefighter. But
Nice.
yeah, actually, my grandfather just passed away, and when we were going through some stuff, we found his old badge and
that's cool.
some stuff like that they gave me. So it's
That's
pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But so the only reason I was ever around anybody from the fire department was because of the bar. I was going to the bar. We were there one night, and they were like, hey, you should think about joining the fire department. And I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
And, they had just like an interest card, like, would you be interested, whatever. So apparently I filled it out, whatever, submitted it, right?
It's a fantastic marketing strategy.
Yeah, like seriously, I had zero interest. I had no reason to do it. So anyway, some time goes by and they call me and they're like, hey, you're still interested in joining the fire department? And I was like, yeah.
Sure.
So I didn't even live in the town where the fire department was. I used somebody else's address, just all this stuff, right? So they're like, yeah, if you want to join, come on, we'll teach you whatever. So started going around, got involved, but I wasn't serious about it because I had no real reason, you know what I mean? And so I was there for a little while, and we had our monthly meeting at the bar in the basement, in like a meeting room. And one day I was there, and this is what changed everything about everything. We were at the bar, like, oh, we're going to this meeting. Let us grab a drink real quick. So the assistant chief and the chief were going down the steps to the meeting room. Didn't know that I was behind them. And the chief said, "Where's Chris at?" And the assistant chief was like, "It doesn't matter. He's never going to take this shit serious. He doesn't care about it." Didn't know I heard it. And I was like, I gotcha.
Huh.
So I'm serious. From that day on, I was like, I got something to prove. And from then on, it changed everything. And I got serious and, got all my stuff. And probably 7 or 8 years ago, I actually called him. I was like, hey, man, I was riding in the back engine 17, and I called him, and I was like, listen, I just want to tell you, like, I don't think I've ever told you this before, but I need to tell you something. I told him about it, and I'm like, that is what changed my whole view of the fire department and everything. And he was like, well, I'm glad me talking shit behind your back got you motivated. But, but yeah,
That's fantastic.
it was, yeah.
It's
That's
crazy how a moment.
I call those paradigm shifting moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just,
Yeah, you're not going to say that about me. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't never going to be.
I'll show you.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
That's pretty cool.
So you're in Wilmington? You just applied for fire, or did you do something before since you moved, since the move?
Since moving to Wilmington?
Yeah.
So we moved to Wilmington, and it turns out that some of my classes from Pennsylvania didn't transfer. So started looking into the whole fire department thing and went to Fayetteville Tech to finish up the classes that did not transfer to North Carolina. And then applied for the county and ended up getting hired part-time. And while I was working part-time, I was working with a guy I knew doing heating and air conditioning, just, making some extra money and stuff. And then I did that for, I think, almost a year, and then got hired full-time by the county.
A part of the best recruit class.
Jeremy and I.
right.
Yeah, man.
What, the two of you? That was probably it, right?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
Oh man, we got,
pretty
some, we
solid.
got some good people out of
Yeah.
there. I mean, we had some others, but
Yeah,
we had a pretty good solid class.
I think so. It was a good time.
That's fine. That
Really good
Fayetteville Tech was that one of those online things you do here, or you were
No,
driving
there.
to Fayetteville?
Yeah, I stayed at Pierce's Mill Fire Department. And stayed there a few days, whatever days I needed to be there. They let me stay there, and we would, run
What
calls with
classes
them.
did you have to transfer over? I'm only interested because I went to Fayetteville Tech for my whole 1 and 2 program.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure to be, because in Pennsylvania it was kind of weird that some of the classes that you took through community colleges weren't IFSAC. So whichever ones weren't, it was just random.
Yeah.
But actually, that's where I met Tyson.
Okay.
And we met there in whatever it was, 07.
What's the time frame here? What
07, 08. He was working part-time at
year?
Clinton.
Yeah, okay, I was already out by then. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyson was part of that class.
Yep. And so stayed up there for a while. Did that. It was pretty cool. Seen a lot of things different up there. Going from Pierce's Mill. I'm not sure if you're really familiar
Oh, yeah.
with that
I know.
area.
Yeah, sure.
So country, and then running calls inside Fayetteville with the city, and
Right.
doing all that whole huge dynamic. It was pretty interesting to see, and it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
So when you got back, or you got done with all that, progressed through all that, and then you got back to Wilmington, you got hired full time with the county.
Yep.
Was it more of a kind of? I guess what's the difference? Maybe the question is, was there a lot of difference in the way that we do here in New Hanover County versus what you started in PA?
Oh my God, yes,
Okay. What like?
everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Do y'all put your pants on with the left foot and we do right foot, or
No, just everything, man. You know, like it's just honestly completely night and day. You know, like it's still kind of like that there in PA, but you know, if one of our BCs would see something that was happening there, they would probably fall over right there. You know, like putting the stick up and tearing down the power, or not power lines, but phone lines and cable lines and stuff to make access to windows, and putting the stick through the window, and
that's just another day up there?
just nobody would blink an eye. You know, just everything. It's they are changing a little bit, but it was like what we had is what we had. They weren't calling for help. Like, you were putting the fire out, you were getting it done, and you were going to clean up, and you were going to go back to the firehouse, and we weren't, you know, unless
Pride
it
a big
was
part of it.
unless this block is on fire.
Right.
This is us. This is our job. This is our place. This is what
Sounds a
we're doing.
lot like Dave talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the help is us.
Yeah.
So would you know, like, if somebody requested you mutual aid, you knew, like, oh shit, it must be a block on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not just going to.
More than likely, yeah. Unless, you know, for some specific reason. You know, I experienced a lot of stuff up there that was completely different from here. I learned a lot of great lessons. I just told this not too long ago. One of the first times I've truly got my ass chewed was for not following an order. We rolled up, went in the house. The captain off the ladder was like, I forgot my tick. Go get the tick. Got it.
Okay.
Turn around, making my way out of the house, going through the front yard. As soon as I walk out to the front yard to head to the ladder to grab the tick, the municipal chief for the town was there and said, hey, go do this. I'm like,
Oh shit.
yes, sir. So I turn
Came
this
in
way.
a tight spot.
Yeah. Municipal chief, I turn this way, go do it, whatever. Head over to the ladder. Tick's gone. I'm like, all right. Go back in the house. Nothing was said. We finished up, did everything. We got back to the fire station, and as soon as I walked in, he said, get in my office right now. And I got my ass chewed to just raw. And it was like, you know, when I tell you to do something, you do something. It doesn't matter. You tell somebody else. We need to, you know. So that's one of my things right now, that you gotta. The priority is whatever you were just asked. You know, you can tell somebody else, hey, hold on, you got to get somebody else.
Sure.
You got to do whatever. But that was one of my biggest things. I was like, but he was like, I don't care.
What's
Yeah.
your idea and the theory about where the ash chewing should take place? Did you feel it was appropriate to take place at the firehouse?
I feel like it was appropriate that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Because-
about?
You know, he wasn't going to scream at me in the burning
Right.
house. You know,
Sure.
yeah, you know, and it turned into a, hey, listen, I'm pissed.
It was a
I told you to
teachable
do
moment.
something.
Yeah.
You didn't do it, but I get it. He's a chief, but you should have said, hold on.
Teachable moment.
It was teachable.
Yeah, you learned something.
Sure.
Yeah, it was.
So he wasn't beating you to beat you.
He did it first
He needed you
because
to
he was
understand.
pissed. Yeah,
okay,
but then he made it.
Yeah.
You understand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man. I mean, you know, I've experienced other things up there too that luckily have never happened here. You know, we have been coming down the street on the ladder, and we're pulling up, and the municipal chief gets on the radio and says, you know, I got a firefighter down. You know, I got a Mayday, firefighter down, unknown problem. We need, you know, the access to firefighter and get him out. We had no idea. You know,
Right.
we're just pulling up, and luckily it wasn't nothing big. It was an air issue, but you know, a lot of things that kind of experienced there in a small town that luckily I'm not.
What was the call volume versus, what was kind of the ops tempo versus what it is here?
So no medical, lots of fire. You know, I couldn't honestly tell you. Probably just a few hundreds a year,
Okay.
but you know,
kind of sounds comparable to how it was in Clinton.
That's
when
what I was
there.
kind of thinking
Yeah,
too. You
it's
know,
just-
like
we were in
Rex.
medical, yeah, but with wrecks and alarms and a lot of fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, cool.
Anytime you can say a lot of fire, I mean, it's all relative. Like
Oh yeah.
somebody running a busy company in New York, a lot of fire is different than here.
A lot of fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Even a lot of fire, I'll take it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came to Wilmington.
I am too, man.
Yeah.
And we almost messed that up. We moved back to Pennsylvania.
So was that the
Why?
you worked here for county and then you left?
Yep. So we have nobody here. You know, it's just Jen and I.
As far as family support
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
No relatives of anybody, you know. So Jen got pregnant, and my daughter was born.
I like how you said that, like if she was just riding down the road one day.
Yeah, Jen got pregnant.
Yeah.
So, you know, after my daughter was born, you know, going back on shift, my wife home, newborn, no family, going through the whole struggling on her own, she felt like. So she decided
Nice.
she
Nice.
decided we should move back to Pennsylvania. So I was totally against it, you know, loved everything about it here. But I was like, if we don't do this, it's always going to be, should we have, you know, whatever. So we moved back, bought an old house, renovated it, did the whole thing, and lived there for a little bit over a year. And it was like, I cannot do this anymore. Applied and got my job back, and then moved back here shortly.
Nice.
Yeah, thank God.
What did you do for work up there during that period of time?
So I went back to doing heating and air conditioning, which was not that fun.
Yeah.
You know, they expect you to work 5 days a week.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's so crazy.
I get
It's
it.
Monday through Friday.
I'm not doing that.
No.
Yeah. No chance.
I'm like, wait, don't we have a day, 4 days?
Wait a minute.
Nothing. This is ridiculous.
Don't you work 10 days a month?
Right. This is unreal.
So you've obviously, since you've been back to Hanover County, you've kind of progressed onto the ranks. So now you're captain with us here,
Yes, sir.
in the same house as I am. Thank goodness. You're on a far less superior truck than I am, and that's okay.
Right.
I don't fault you for that, but what's been some of your fun experiences as a captain?
Oh, man.
I led with fun, so
Fun experiences. Oh, man.
I know you've had the opportunity to work with several different personalities.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think all of it's fun. You know, it just depends on,
It's a Ken Hoag statement.
you know, it is because, you know, it depends on how you're looking at it or what you're talking about because, you know, fun is teaching somebody new stuff or, you know, showing them a different way of doing something or looking at something with a different perspective. You know, fun could be the calls that we experience together. You know, somebody getting promoted. You know, helping somebody go through the steps and learn and get promoted is fun for me. You know, being able to hopefully be a part of that and, you know, show them something that they didn't know before.
I enjoy
Everything.
hearing y'all stories when you come back from calls and how you can take, just a regular old everyday call and then it come back and the other guys on the truck will be like, damn, Gary. They're like, it's just like, you would just do something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've rode with you before. I mean, I've been your driver before, and I understand it. And I think that's a missed trait a lot of the times that, if it's depending on what the call is,
Right.
Yes, it's somebody's bad day, but I mean, you can provide joy in the situation. I mean, you can provide that for that person. That's some characteristics that I've taken from you. But it's funny to hear those stories just a very under your breath cut up moment or something, you know,
Yeah.
just something. It can be anything. And it's just like, it can change the atmosphere.
That's the thing, it doesn't have to be so stressful all the time. The It's already stressful enough.
Sure.
If we're not making fun of it, or but if we provide some type of light to it, then if everybody can calm down a second, then we're all going to be better.
I got a funny Geary story.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
We were at 18, and we were on that old engine 31, the E1. And we were going to I think it was a medical call right off of Mason Burley Road, and you were driving for me, and we made a right, and on all of a sudden we were just creeping. The volunteers were still around. I know, that's the only reason I know this, because they had to come and help bail us out. But they're creeping, and all of a sudden, I'm like, Gary, what are you doing? The call, we're still gotta go halfway down the route. EMS is behind us, sheriff behind us, and he's just like, I got nothing. I'm like, what do you mean I got nothing? He's like, I got nothing. And he's like, I see his foot slamming the floor. He's like, I got nothing. The electronic throttle had messed up. And that was probably funny. And we had to stop, pull it, creep over to the side, wave everybody
Go
on.
around.
We had to walk 2 blocks to get to this house.
So it's just idle.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we could make it go faster by using the pump panel.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was just funny. It's just just your reaction to it. You're just like, Gary, what are you doing? He's like, I got nothing. I'm like, what do you mean you got nothing? He's like, I've got nothing. And
Yeah.
just looking at me.
I'm driving, but the truck's not.
Yeah. I'm doing my thing.
It's good to find joy in the randomness of the job.
Yeah, I guess sometimes I kind of sit back and think, I like to joke around. I like to have fun. I like to, have a good time. And I hope that everybody realizes that when it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious. And I think, our crews and people that know me do understand that when, it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious. And we're not joking around. But, around the firehouse, in moments like that, if you can make a little bit of light and loosen the mood a little bit, then why not? It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
It's got
to
to be a good thing.
It's got to be, just.
Yeah, anytime you can make the non-stressful times fun and enjoyable, it can't help but foster the attitude of, it doesn't have to be. I don't have to have my underwear pulled around my ears, pulled up so tight that it's around my ears all the time. Because it's really not like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So since you're moving back to Wilmington and whatnot, you've kind of progressed on through, kind of a big name in our department as far as I would consider. What other roles and responsibilities have you acquired?
Other roles and responsibilities. So
Yeah, let's go big picture for a few minutes.
a couple of the other roles that I have are I am the vice president for Local 4576. And
What's that mean?
New York County Professional Firefighters Association.
All right.
And I am also helping to move forward some of the mental health stuff in the department, and have been trying to move some stuff through our local in the past whenever there have been needs. Not just in our department. I've reached out, spoke to other people from other departments, other counties, other things. So trying to move forward, trying to make sure everybody's good.
What do you believe is the? I just want to hear your opinion. What do you believe is brought the whole mental wellness and mental health, mental hygiene, how I like to refer to it as mental hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think kind of brought all this on? As a general, I know it's a broad kind of area to try to think about, but what brought all this to light so much for us first responders? Because it's in our left ear, it's in our right ear. It's pushed on us so heavy now.
Right.
Well, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing by any means, but what was the onset of all this, in your opinion?
I think whenever it actually gets out how many people are struggling in silent, and whenever you start hearing nothing about firefighters dying of cancer and heart attacks and all these other things, and then you start comparing the amount of people that are turning towards either suicide or some type of addiction, and compare those numbers, that it has really shown that there is a drastic change in mental health in the fire service that nobody has ever been willing to talk about. And the stigma has always been, for some reason, I'm some big bad tough guy fireman that I can't tell anybody that I'm struggling, and it is a huge struggle. So, the talking about it left and right, like you said, in the one ear out the other, constantly hearing about it, I think personally is a good thing, because it's a great reminder that we are changing and that we are able to talk about this, and that it is acceptable now. Whereas you talk to people that's been in the department or a department or service for 30 years, retired, like it was never a thing. You can never show any of that, that people would judge you or, whatever. But I think it's a great thing.
I often find myself trying to draw a correlation of its kind of inception into the fire service, and I fall back on, the military, because we're supposed to be a paramilitary organization. The military, up until September 11th, 2001, I mean, we've been peacetime for how long? I mean, prior to that, what was our last major conflict?
Gulf War.
Gulf War, and that was, how long did that last? 15 minutes. I mean, hypothetically. I mean, it wasn't a long confrontation, but ever since 2001, we've been in this long, drawn out battle, and we have generational folks with military. Fathers now serving with sons, and so on. So it's been a long duration, and this whole PTSD and mental wellness is being brought to light so big by that specific group of people that somewhere it got correlated to, our first responders, they never stopped dealing with that. I mean, that's been around in their world forever.
Right.
So I contribute a lot of it to the military. They're bringing it to light. I mean, they're researching, and the veterans coming back and all that kind of stuff. They're the ones who kind of put the foot in the door, and I'm grateful for that as much as I am as how much it's becoming evident in the fire service now. But in real life, I mean, that never stopped. I mean, that's been since the beginning of time for us as firemen. We don't get it's not a peacetime or wartime for us. It's all the time.
Right.
So I enjoy it. I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, I definitely think it's great for our people. If we keep bringing light to it, and we keep providing resources, and keep doing the education and trainings, and the counseling, whatever it is needed, then as long as it continues moving forward and is used in the right way for the right reasons, then I'm all for it. I think it's the best thing. You look at numbers, and they say you're sometimes more likely, 10 times more likely to have a suicide than you are a line of duty death. So
Yeah,
we've already been there.
Yeah.
It's
What do you think the numbers are? I've been trying to figure this one out for myself, and I'll ask you. You got home life,
right.
Divorce, sick kids, whatever, and then work life. For somebody that doesn't work in this industry, just going to work doesn't add stress. I won't say it doesn't. Every job doesn't have a little bit of stress, but maybe not quite as much.
Right.
But so if your home life is adding stressors in, and then your work life is adding stressors in, then those start piling on.
Right.
Is there a number? Do we know, like, if the suicides and the mental unwellness, is the complaint coming from the work side or coming from home side, or?
So, you know, I don't know the answer for sure, but I spoke to a clinician recently that is partaking in some of our mental health stuff, and they had mentioned that multiple people have reached out in the past, you know, for things, and the majority of them were based on home life. So there were acute, you know, stressors that happened from an incident, something like that. But it seemed like the majority of it was the added on stress from everyday life. You know, it was kind of pushing it over the top. So I don't know statistically, you know, overall, but
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. Work has its stressors. We all know the job's got its stressors, but you know, my son was sick,
right,
so I was like, man, do I need to get this job out of my life,
right,
or do I just need to get my kid? Well, you know, that's a pretty easy question to answer. But moving forward, once he started not being sick, I still question, like, do I
I
need
did
to?
the same thing, man.
Yeah,
My daughter had, you know, pretty much the same thing that your son had, the mold, you know, and I did the same exact thing. Like, is this being away, you know, all this on top of my kid being sick, putting it over the top, you know? But honestly, most of the time, going to work for me is kind of a relief. You know, you just a different environment. You know, yeah, you get the whole stresses and, you know, but we cut up, we have a good time. You know, I can talk to these guys about anything. I talk to any of y'all about anything. I just have a different group of bigger children running around screaming and throwing stuff, and
That's an accurate description.
you know, more children to take care of during the day. But you know, it's for me, the majority of the time, work is a relief. You know, it changes the scenery, the changing environment. You know, everything is just different, and you know, I'm not saying that I don't ever bring anything home or,
sure, yeah,
but
It almost seems to me that whether or not I understand any of you's situation, like it resonates with me personally. Like, you know, I've been there. You know, I've had a kid that's had, you know, a sickness or whatnot. That part doesn't matter. It's the connection of the fire service. It's the connection that we do the same job that kind of unifies it and brings it together. That makes me feel like I can share and be normal, or you know, share anything with you, because we have that so much in common. And I think that's a missing factor for a lot of guys. They can't, whether it's their crew dynamic is off or what it may be, that, you know, this can be just as much of, if not more of an outlet, like you said, more than a stressor.
right,
The continuous concentration on the stressors that we get from work, rather than using it as something beneficial. I think it's an opportunity to kind of flip the script. You know, y'all know my stance on the whole mental health thing. I think it falls on us.
right,
I mean, therapists are wonderful. They have a job. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And if that's the avenue you choose to take, that's wonderful. But I mean, I charge us as firemen to be our own therapists for our crews and our people,
for sure.
because we have something in common that therapist doesn't have in common with us. And you could say what you want, but somebody teaching you about something the way you're supposed to be feeling, if they don't do your job, especially in such a culture-rich environment as the fire service, I'm sure it's the same in the military, but anything where you experience trauma and hard times together to where you have a bond as tight as ours, you get turned off almost immediately. It's like you don't know. You don't have any idea.
I also think another thing that happens is, like, I think when traditional, like, civilians go to therapists, they're kind of taught to remove themselves from the trauma. We don't have that luxury. We are constantly, like, whatever's triggering our, like, say, PTSD or anything else, like, we're constantly going to be reintroduced to it the entire career. So we're different as far as, like, having a therapist tell us, like, traditional methods as far as, like, dealing with past trauma and removing yourself from that situation. But we don't have that luxury. We've got to deal with it. We've got to talk about it, but we're going to see it again, maybe even worse, and it's going to trigger. So yeah, I think we're definitely unique, and having that outlet of being able to talk to each other about it and saying, hey, yeah, I'm feeling the same way about it, or I get affected by certain things. Yeah, I think that's more important for us to have us as an outlet. I mean, a therapist is definitely worth its weight in gold, but
Right.
yeah, we're unique because we can't, like, as long as we keep working the job, we're going to keep being reintroduced to the same triggers.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my biggest things is, you know, at our firehouse, you know, we got a great crew, we got a great dynamic, and I feel 100% comfortable that we could sit at the kitchen table anywhere, you know, around the firehouse and talk and be open and be real, and we all have a great relationship, and there's trust, and there's, you know, we're just an extended family, but it's not like that everywhere, and I think that is an issue because, you know, there's companies that don't eat dinner together. There's companies that don't spend family time, as we call it, together. You know, there is that disconnect that they don't talk to each other on their days off. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody, but, you know, like, I'm trying to reach out to my guys. You know, I know about their families. I know what's going on in their lives. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that is huge, because if you don't have that, who's going to come to you if they're having a problem that I don't even you're my captain, I don't even have your cell phone number?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. I'm not going to be like, hey, man, I'm struggling, you know?
Yeah, you're
So
keeping
that-
up with your crew's mental hygiene. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
it's
mean,
everybody's
yeah.
responsibility. You know, it's my firefighter's responsibility. I think it's everybody. Like, hey, man, look, you know, just been a little bit off. You good? Like, I might not have to tell you everything, but hey, man, I just got a little bit going on. I'm good, you know, whatever. But I think that's a big part of it too. You know, being
That question,
Keeper
when
of each
asked
other.
correctly, is a very supportive thing.
yeah,
Like,
hey, I'm paying enough attention to you to know,
yeah.
like, something's not right. Like, I know you. You're,
Yeah.
you can say you're not, but you're off.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that happened to me last shift. I've got a big test coming up, so I'm under an abnormal amount of pressure and stress, whether it's meant to be that way or not. But that's the way I'm perceiving it. Is, you know, I'm highly stressed out about this, and, you know, your driver came up to me. I was straight up getting it on the treadmill. It was jacked up. I had been there for almost a little over an hour, almost an
Damn.
hour and 15 minutes, and pouring sweat. And he walked in the weight room and just flew the door up and was like, "Why are you so pissed off?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "Why are you pissed off? You're mad. Why are you mad?" I was like, "It's none of your business." He was like, "All right, well, you're still mad." But, you know, just that.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you know,
Yeah, he knows something was wrong.
something was different, right? Something was off. Yeah. So good on him. It seems, I think Steve has the best answer to the whole mental wellness approach when it comes to fire service members, and there isn't an answer.
There isn't.
There isn't. Your answer, your response to the question, or, you know, what is mental health in the fire service or whatnot, we don't know, and I don't know that there'll ever be an answer to, you know, because it's so situational based and it's so individually based.
True.
That I don't know that there'll ever be an answer. But just like you say, you know, this helps. I mean, the discussion about it, the awareness that it's normal, you know, it's normal for your engineer to bust in the weight room and be like, "Why are you mad?" You know, or you know, or you know, something's off. You know, you don't have to say anything. I can see it. Something's off. Whether you want to talk about it, hey, you don't have to talk about it, but if you need to, I got you, dog.
Right.
Or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like culture in all, and then obviously the fire service would follow suit, but the culture is to problem. All right, so let's form this flow chart in order to reach a conclusion to find an answer for it. You know, there's a problem. The truck's overheating. Cool. Let's walk through a series of tests, and there's a reason for that. You know, something's going on that's not allowing it to cool properly, and I just don't think it's a candid answer like that. That there can be a poof, one size fits all answer.
Yeah, you know, another big thing is people are kind of under the impression, or some people are under the impression that, you know, just because you have a traumatic incident or something, that it is specifically that, which it doesn't. It isn't always. It could be something that has nothing to do with anything that this just triggered in your head that's making you, you know, do all this stuff. And I know that you and I have a little bit of a disagreement here on the whole mandatory debriefings,
Right.
and things like that. And, you know, we talked about that in the past, but
What's your disagreements?
I personally feel that is, if a person goes to an incident of some sort and says something about it is bothering me, that there needs to be debriefing, and it should be whatever companies were involved, whether it's on shift, whatever. I would personally say on shift, so that it's not messing anybody's side hustle, you know, whatever. Take those companies out of service, the next, whenever appropriate, do a debriefing, and if nothing else, it is everybody in the room. If somebody is struggling, there's more than likely somebody else that is feeling something that may not be saying something because they don't want to be that person. And if nothing else comes out of it, everybody in the room is there for support. Nobody knows Chris was the person, because I'm the only one that showed up, that was having a problem, and now I'm sitting in a room by myself with 6, you know, debriefing people saying, oh, I'm the only one, something's wrong with me. And, you know, everybody is there for support, and everybody is hearing signs of stress, you know, the anxiety, all these other things that happen normally that you may not even realize, that 3 days later you might feel like you're having a heart attack because, you know, you're dealing with something you don't know about. But, you know, it is just, if we can get all those things in order and let people know the signs, symptoms, you know, that it's okay, we're all here together, you're not being judged, nobody knows who did this, then I feel like it will all just be educational, and that'll be something else for somebody that doesn't really know what's going on. Be like, wait, when we sat in that thing the other day, like, I heard him say something like that, and I think he's kind of acting, you know, like, you know, give you a little, hey, Captain, you see Matt, you know, he's kind of doing this right here.
He's twitching.
Something, you know, whatever. It just a little bit of information for everybody. You know, if it's an hour or two out of your 24-hour shift.
In your framework of that, is it on that same day?
No.
So the following shift probably? Or...
Yeah, because, you know, like I said, it could be something that, you know, you go to a call and nothing's bothering you. But then the next day you go home and your kids are sick and they're throwing a fit or whatever. And then, bam, you know, like, you know, a couple of days later, the next tour, whenever it's appropriate, you know, depending on the call, depending on everything. But, you know, give it a couple of days to process and, you know, go through those steps. You know, at least you don't have to say anything. You just got to be there. I think it's educational. It's beneficial. Like I said, whenever I went out on knee surgery and you went to the rescue, I'm not sure if you were working that shift or one of the shifts, but there was a fatality, I think, out in the 14s area. You know, nothing that could be done, just a long, extended process. Mm-hmm. But I was on light duty. Somebody came up to me and said, hey, man, I need to talk to you. I'm struggling, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. Just, I don't know why. But I called and said, hey, look, you know, somebody's struggling. And, you know, they put the whole debriefing thing together. And if, no, I'm not trying to take credit for this or, say anything like that, you know, but if the person didn't come forward, they would have struggled on their own and not said anything. And then another thing is, if they didn't have the companies go, this person would have been by themselves. Mm-hmm. And been like, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean?
I feel you.
So it kind of takes the singling out of it, you know?
Let me ask something that's kind of, I'm not going to disagree with you. Maybe
can.
later I will. I'll ask something that's a little bit different, and something you said led me down this road. You know, societal norms dictate that if I bump into you, I hadn't seen you in a couple of weeks, like, hey man, how's it going?
Right.
Your immediate response
I'm fine.
is, that's good.
Good.
Yeah, everything's good. Yeah. Then we chit chat for a few minutes, and then the same question. So, really, how are things going?
Right.
You know, then the norms have been reduced. A little conversation has happened, and then based on our relationship, you know, we might talk about whatever, but maybe understanding that, you know, they say this is like a data-driven industry. The data is different from the first time you ask the question to the second time you ask the question. To
For
the
sure.
third. Yeah. So I think there's a chance that some of our data that we're looking at, it's not right. Like I asked you earlier, do you think it's home life or work life? We can quickly come up with a few home life things, but probably industry, if you work in a department that runs any kind of volume, you're going to run those ones that are triggering to, I don't know if we can use that term anymore, but
You can say whatever you want to on here, bro.
yeah, right. But a call that has a victim that's similar to one of your family members or something, you know, the first time I ask you about it, you might throw that norm, the default, like, oh yeah, it's fine, you know, and then maybe on the second time, it might be,
Yeah.
well, hey, let's chat about it. There's something there, and maybe your approach of having it where all the companies come in, whether you want to, there's something inside. When somebody says mandatory,
I get it.
I buck up a little bit, but doing it on shift, you're going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the company's
There's nothing-
going, company's going.
You're going to training.
Yeah, mandatory off shift. I mean, there's child
I
care
get it.
stuff.
Yeah,
there's
for
all
sure.
kinds of,
It sometimes will create more of a hassle. You know, take money out of your pocket, your side hustle, someone watch your kids, you got sick kids, you know, whatever, whatever. But I think the whole, another thing that we have to do is stop that whole, especially talking bad about it. Like, this is bullshit. This is mandatory. You know, this is, the whole thing, because especially for our newer people, like, you're just putting that impression in their head straight out of the jump. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is bullshit. My captain thinks this is bullshit. I'm going to think it's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, so I know it's hard to do, but it's supporting each other, you know?
yeah. I'm having a hard time finding an argument against what you're talking about.
I like that.
I like arguing about stuff.
I know you do.
Well, I mean, when it comes to how you say mandatory things, yeah, I mean, I think by now probably everybody knows my stance on mandatory things that we have to do that we don't necessarily want to have to do. But it's the same as 1410 drills. It's the same as your EMS Con Ed. It's the same as everything else. And when you put it to being on shift, that seems to make a little more sense.
It's like part of the
Then-
job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do your 1410 drills on shift. Whether you think it's a waste of time or not, I mean, you're gonna be there.
Right.
I mean, you're gonna still do your EMS Con Ed, or you're not gonna. I guess the only difference is there's no consequence. I mean, there's no consequence
For what?
if you don't go to, you know, if the idea is introduced that it's mandatory but it's to be done off shift. So what's the consequence if you don't go?
There's none.
So if there's no consequence, where does our human nature minds go? Who cares?
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's just mine. I like the idea of on shift.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already there. And is it outside of the scope of an idea to for our critical incident stress debriefings or whatever they may be, rather than have several companies meet in one spot, would it not be more beneficial for the team of the people doing the debriefing, hosting the debriefing to travel from company to company to company to company versus having companies come together. It seems to be, this my perception, it seems to be almost that when more people are gathered around, the perception is I'm going to act based upon how the room is reacting. If everybody's opening up, then I feel safe opening up. If nobody's saying anything, I feel awkward saying anything.
Right.
And I don't know that that's something we have a possibility of defeating.
Yeah, but part of the, obviously there's a couple different setups. The CISDs, where there are people in the room that are asking the questions and bringing things up.
Hosters, yeah, the people
Right.
hosting it, yeah.
And then, the other is peer support, where,
Sure.
excuse me, that, I can reach out to you. Hey, what's going on? How are you? Whatever. But, the whole debriefing thing has a benefit to it, because if you have everybody that was there, you can go through the whole situation. What happened? When you arrived, what'd you get? This. And you go through it, and you can work through the whole process if you choose to. What went well? We're not pointing fingers. We're not saying you missed, but what didn't? So it's a learning process, but you're also being able to deal with the whole scene in general. Because, if we go to one station and say, well, what'd you do? You're getting this part of the story. Then you go there, and then, the other part is kind of different, which you're not really working through. So another thing is it will replay the whole event, step by step, the whole part, get it all out. And then, it's not trying to figure out because we did this happened, or, it's just the whole thing. The whole peer support thing is, hey man, I heard you went on a bad call the other day. I don't really know much about it. I just know it was bad. If you need anything, I'm here for you. Holler at me. If you need to talk to somebody, you don't have to talk to me. There's a whole list of people. We can get you something, But each of them have their place. It's just a matter of what it was and when, really.
I'm understanding. I believe what you're saying. Would you say that the peer support side of things has a incredibly higher success rate for however we draw that metric? I don't know how you measure success when we're talking
Yeah, I
about
don't
this,
know, yeah.
but would you say it seems to be more successful than the critical incident debriefing side of things?
I don't know, to be honest. I would say that it has to do with the person. If you trust me, then I feel like if I reached out to you, said, hey man, you good, whatever, and you'd be open and, whatever, then yes. If it's a complete total stranger that from another department that is peer support trained, that you might be like, I don't really know you. Like, I'm not, whatever. On the other hand, the debriefings are pointed questions, and not pointed questions, but, it brings out everything. So, again, you may not have any feeling like this at all, but it's bringing out topics or things that you're not thinking of, signs, symptoms of stress and anxiety and, all those other things. And so they're both very, very important. And I think it just has to do with the person, really.
It almost
I don't
seems
really
to
have
me
a metric to.
it almost seems to me that the goals of the two different programs are separated, whereas the peer support side of things is more geared towards helping an individual, where the critical incident debriefing is kind of geared towards maybe helping you understand if you're having signs and symptoms, and then if you can recollect that, then we can help you steer towards an area. Whereas the peer support side is just here.
What do you think is more beneficial? So I think along the same lines as the peer support versus the CISD model. The CISD offered somebody outside of the department. So, do you think that having somebody outside the department is more beneficial for somebody to be like feel more comfortable to talking about confidential things with somebody who may not be involved with the organization versus a peer support side? Have you run into any instances, or do you have any thoughts on if it's better for the individual if they trust and know the person? And we've talked about it. Like we feel open when we talk on the kitchen table, especially if you have a good strong crew. So I think that's where you're talking about with the two different models. So CISD is more of somebody from the outside coming in. The peer support's your inside policing each other. What do you think? Have you seen a benefit to one or the other, or if there's one over the other, have you seen more of a support for that?
Can you answer that question first?
No. No, that one's for you.
All right. So I've had both happen. I've had a third party reach out to me and say, hey, a person just reached out to me and said they're struggling with an issue. They want to speak to somebody. They don't want to speak to anybody in our department because they don't want them to know it's them. Fine. I don't care as long as they're talking to somebody, getting help, and, give them the numbers to whatever, North Carolina Peer Support, or, the all the other different numbers out there, and just reach out to somebody. You don't have to reach out to me. I don't have to know. The other thing is I've had people reach out to me personally for topics that are just, I never thought I would hear another person say about something that's bothering them. And that's fine. It's confidential. It's between me and them, and, whatever. So again, I think it's just the person and what the issue actually is. And, I know personally that there are people that I've been in their house for dinner. I know their kids, I've really good friends with people, and they will struggle to tell me that something's bothering them for whatever reason. But I know it. I can look at you and tell, or I know you, you know what I mean? I can tell you're struggling, and it's maybe pride or, just
Fear of the letdown.
Yeah, something. And
Embarrassment.
all
Moment of
I've
weakness.
done it.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been on a rough call before, man, and we had a CISD after, and I was like, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna start crying in front of everybody, and I'm like, I'm good. I got up and left, and I struggled, man. I struggled hard. Like, I went home, see my wife and kids, and I was bawling, just beat up. And Jen's like, you got to do something. I'm like, I'm good. And it took a long time, but I got over it. But, I did it all the wrong ways. And, I see it, like, it helps. But
Press pause on that for a second, because I want to answer and then hit you right where you left off. The flow of direction. So if it's somebody from the outside that you don't know, if you're seeking, like, I'll ask somebody that I don't know something, if I understand that they're in the industry or it's a trusted, like a counselor or something, then I seek that. But if my phone's ringing, it needs to be like a peer support, or I don't want somebody that I don't know calling my phone. You know what I mean?
So it's you making the choice to go to that outside individual versus them contacting you directly.
Yeah. I'm not I'm not saying that in a negative way. So, like, that resource needs to be available.
Yes.
So if I decide to
Right.
go, but also this resource needs to be available, the peer support side, for when I don't decide.
Right.
But
Personally, that's how I feel, is the more resources, the better, because I think people are going to choose differently. Like, not everyone's going to be like a trusted source in the department.
Right.
Some people are going to go to Chris. Some people are gonna be like, I don't feel comfortable talking to anybody within the department. Like you said, they want to seek somebody outside because they're afraid of what people might think of them, or the embarrassment of, I don't want somebody I know knowing this. it's like kind of like the spaghetti sticking in the wall type thing. Like like you got to have a lot of options. Yeah.
You know, and I think we're very fortunate that we do. You know, for one thing, in North Carolina in general, just in the county, through the union, you know, there's tons and tons of resources. But one of my biggest struggles right now is working through all this stuff within the department is the whole confidentiality, is because if one thing gets out, it's ruined. You know, that cannot happen. And I'm so scared that somebody just making a terrible decision could ruin this for everybody and the whole program be shot. But the other thing is, you know, peer support, like I'm not a psychologist or a clinician or anything. Like, I'm just caring about you. How are you, brother? You know, like, what's going on? You good? You know, I've had to ask the very hard question, you know, like, are you thinking about killing yourself? And it's scary to hear. And, you know, it's hard to ask. And, you know, all the things go through your head, but it's just me being here for you or them being here for you and not judging you and not trying to say, oh, you have PTSD. That's not me. Like, you know, yeah, okay. You know, you want to talk to somebody? Here, dude, we have a whole list of resources. Like, we can get you somebody, you know. It's just the bridge and showing somebody that care and that there's people there for them. But I don't have the answers. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know,
I think
doctor.
that just that relation to where there's no when you take the steps to follow up with somebody that you have noticed is struggling, and you take those steps, and it's not something you're getting paid to do, it's not the desire of a predetermined outcome, it's not a stat builder, it's not anything, it's just you being you, and you're reaching out to somebody, that is mirrored in their response. Because we all have these, you know, when you have somebody call you who hasn't talked to you in a month, what's your first instinct? It's not they're checking on me to see how I'm doing. It's like,
What do I want?
what do they want?
What
Yeah.
happened?
So
You moving?
what do you desire from me? I mean, that's human nature. Yeah. Male, female, it doesn't matter. That's just the way it is. But however, on the contrary, when you take somebody to further on your point with the example that you just gave, you know, where there's no predetermined outcome. You're not a clinician. You're not a psychologist. You're not any of those things. You're just a dude who cares about somebody else who wants to reach out. That to me says more. And I think that's personally, my opinion, that's the correct way about all of it. If there has ever been a black and white answer, as close as we can get to it, it's that.
So another thing that I try to do is like, hey man, look, I just know something's going on. I don't even really know the details. I don't need to, but you know, I'll talk to you. I'm gonna reach out to you. I'm gonna get up with you the next couple of days, and whatever. But what I also try to do, I keep a copy of the county's EAP on my desktop, and say, hey man, I'm gonna shoot you a confidential email. And I just shoot it to him. Here's some of the resources. And you know, I have the other ones too. I'm going to send them to you. Do what you want with it. If you want, whatever. None of my business. But I'm going to reach out to you in the next couple of days. Keep an eye on your crews. You know, I'm going to reach out to them too. But if you need anything, let me know. But
I love it.
Yeah. I told you I was going to disagree with you.
let's do it.
This is not me disagreeing. I'm going to submit an idea.
Okay.
And you see if it jives or see if you have an answer for it. In your time of life, like if you've ever dealt with depression or suicidal thoughts, in that period of time, the one universal thing that anybody that talks to somebody else is control. So whatever has happened makes you feel like you just can't grasp control. So that's my knee jerk. If I take myself back to being in that environment, and then somebody tells me, hey, you got some mandatory training coming up, that's one more thing that I can't control.
Right.
And that's where the shoulder comes in. Knowing that, how can we just soften that up or navigate that to make it okay? It's not like I'm not being a smart ass. I'm not telling you don't call it mandatory training. I'm just saying when it feels like I've lost control of one more thing,
Right.
it just sucks. So,
Right. But again, that's why I think doing it on shift
Yeah.
kind of changes that a little bit. Because it's not, hey, this is your day off.
Yeah.
You have to come on your day off or you're in trouble. Hey, you're at work. Click the out of service button on your MDT. Get your ass over here. Sit down. Go back to,
Yeah, nobody's gonna know none the wiser.
Yeah, it's not no different than going to a meeting or, like you said, company ops or, whatever we do. So,
I'm going to draw a parallel for you, and you tell me if this makes sense to you. Both of you, all three of you. Tell me if this makes sense to you. The reason it feels out of your control is because it's a nuance right now. 1410 drills, JPAP, all that's not a nuance anymore. You know you have to do it. You don't feel out of control because you have to go do it.
You're saying if it's expected.
That's right. Well, if it becomes
Cultural
the new
norm.
normal,
Right.
would it feel that it's out of your control, or would it feel like this is one of the 15 that I've been to in the past year? It's just another thing. Blue Card, EMT Con Ed, any of it. It's a nuance in the beginning,
Right.
but then it becomes a normal. So if this was a thing that was just became normal, it would feel out of control for a little while, and then
Yeah. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your side of it
You know what
totally.
firemen hate, right?
Yeah.
Change and the way it is.
Of course.
Yeah. I'll say
But-
this. It's what you're saying is 100% logical. This is me in a healthy state telling you that sounds logical.
Right.
I can tell you that me in a non-healthy state, logic doesn't work.
Okay,
That's-
sure.
Killing yourself is not logical,
No.
right?
Sure.
So
But, when we have a couple hundred people and
Yeah.
we're not going to get everybody to agree and say, oh, yeah, this is a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
We have
I'm
to
not.
go-
I'm not even disagreeing with you anymore. I'm.
Yeah, you know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
wanting to help shape the path because I think it's a great idea.
I think that, if it hurts somebody's feelings about the mandatory word or, the inconvenience or whatever, then at some point we're just going to get over it, and
The healthy people, you're not going to hurt their feelings. The only person that you're going to get resistance from is somebody that's struggling with something.
yes.
Is that a cue though? Is for why this is going? Say this was put into place hypothetically that was the new thing. That's starting Monday, whatever, or starting Saturday, May 1st. This is going to be the new way. Do you think that could be a key for the nuance is to pay attention to the people who resist it?
Perhaps. In every department's different. Like,
Of course.
somebody listen here from some other department. This might be universal, but the BC from A or the BC from B or C that's guiding this, their personality. So what I'm trying to say is if you got the wrong personality, sending down the, hey, get over here, it falls back on that relationships. I can't remember what show it was, but we were talking about how important it is for the relationship from the BC level to the company officer. And if there's no relationship, no established trust, you can't pay attention to that if you don't have the relationship in place.
Yeah, I mean, leadership sets your tempo.
It's not what you say, it's what people hear.
Attitude reflects leadership.
Oh.
Holy cliche
Whoa.
hashtags, Batman.
yeah.
I'm throwing
So,
hashtags all
that
the
was-
way
You
down
know,
the screen.
the other
That's a
thing
triple
is,
shot.
when the whole talking about mental health and peer support and CSDs became more acceptable, how many people you think pissed off?
I honestly will say that there was times that I felt that I was being forced to do something I didn't want to on my day off.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I do that now. I mean, we have mandatory
Yes.
training now. It's on our days off.
Yes.
I mean, that's our department. I don't have any idea what other departments are doing, but I mean, I feel inconvenienced.
Right.
But
I mean, it's my choice to live as
Yeah.
far as I do away, but I'm not the only one who lives that far away. So it's like, I mean, it's
I
like,
live 2 miles from where the mandatory training was, and I didn't like going.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it.
but losing several people to suicide
It's
from
understandable.
work. I've had some from outside of work and family, but from work as well. I mean, it's definitely an important fight and one we should seriously pursue. Yeah.
March, April, and May of last year, 2020, I was shitty. And so when we talk about some of these training things, I go back to that mentality, and I think, what would I have reacted like in that moment?
Right.
And that's where my reaction comes from for like the mandatory training stuff, because I knew like I was on the fucking edge, son. Any little push, and I'd have been like, "Fuck y'all." Yeah.
But I think that's important because you take the Jeremys, you take all the, whether they're personal with us specifically or not, but you take all those, and that's a side of the story that we never get to fucking hear because
Correct.
it's over, it's done. I can't hear Jeremy's story. You're the best example I have right now. That's why I want you to answer hard questions, and you say
survivor.
no. I like that. I'm like, I'm not offended.
Yeah.
I like
You
it.
know, just think though how many stories you don't hear.
I don't know, man. It's fucking sucks. I want an answer.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. You know, like I said earlier about the whole crew dynamic and firehouse etiquette and the whole thing. You know, if I'm sitting there trying to be some big badass that nothing bothers me and fuck it all and everything's good and just whatever, and don't talk about it. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Then, of course, that's not ever going to happen. You're never going to have that relationship. You're never going to have that environment to have somebody open up, and they're not going to be like, this guy doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
I think the hope even with that type of person, because I've been that type of person in my career, I've been that person because that my biggest mentor, Lee, who, if you can view it one way as a suicide, he was that person. He was, I'm bigger than life. That shit doesn't bother me. Nothing, nothing ever bothers me. But I think the more that is discussed, and I think a lot more than we realize, is that type of person listens and they relate to these stories and these, kind of these ways of fostering this type of mentality more than we will ever know. Mm-hmm. So, well, we're in the midst of changing a culture.
And this is the step. It is not okay to settle for okay. If you are having thoughts that, you're not the only one.
I'm a big harper on the home life because I think that's the 99%.
Right.
Yeah.
The calls, the bad calls, and all that. They play a part. But if home life's out of whack, it's a problem
For sure.
It's a bigger problem to me.
Compounds.
But yeah, compounding problem. Good.
I think there's a chance that the home life is universal, and it's because your work doesn't provide you with the release. Your work just adds to it. So, like, everybody's
Work
home
keeps
life.
coming.
Yeah, everybody's home life has a stressor. So I think on that third time you get asked, then you realize, like, yeah, it's because I'm not getting a break at work. But then the calls and stuff add on.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
totally.
for sure.
Yeah, totally makes sense. All right. If you had a magic wand,
Okay.
first let me ask this question: if you had $100 million, what would you do besides fight fire?
$100 million.
Yep,
What would I
$100
do
million.
besides fight fire? Man, I
I
don't
know
know.
I know what your answer better be.
What is it?
Fight fire anyway.
Yeah, I would still love to be a fireman. I don't know, man. I don't really think I'd do a whole lot different.
Solid.
Yeah, I really
Solid.
don't. I'd probably have a few more toys, maybe a couple more houses, but
Solid. All right, second question. If you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change anything about the fire service internationally, I know it's a broad spectrum. What would you change?
Maybe we're not changing the fire service for the people that are coming into the fire service. The people that are coming into the fire service need to change themselves to the fire service. I don't know.
So,
You know, like we're not creating a new fire service for the people coming into it. You know, we need to stick to history. You know, we need to stick to, you know, obviously technology and everything. There's going to be some changes, and you know, we can't just say this is the way we've always done it and this is the way we're always going to do it. But you know, the whole
say what's on your mind. I
Yeah.
like where you're going.
Yeah,
Say what's on your mind. Yeah, I like it.
what's the name of the generation?
Z. Generation Z is the news generation. Zennials.
Yeah, millennials.
What?
You know, the whole.
You're technically a millennial.
I know technically, but I don't act like one. Sit in the room, you know, by yourself, you know, just on a computer or just on your phone, and you know, the whole changing of this is the way this is. I don't like it. I think we need to incorporate the history of the fire service. We need to stick to the way things were. Have people look at it more than this is just my job. This is just, you know, have some pride in it. I think we're losing a lot. I don't know if any of that makes sense.
I think it does. I got one for you. You've heard me talk about motives before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, check your motives. If you're making a decision that feels like a big decision, check up just a second. Like, why am I making this decision? That whole change, like, what would you change about the fire service? If you exist in any industry, and the fire service is probably a great example for this as far as one that has honor in it, you know, like you're here for hopefully pure reasons. If you're brushing your teeth and you check those motives and they're off, like your motives are to wield some sort of power or something unpure, if I could change the fire service, I would delete those people.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't think it would be that many,
No.
but the motives, like if you could, even for yourself, like if you're in a spot depression-wise, check those motives, like figure out like what can we, if you just modify, like why am I doing whatever this is, that'll help you to change your mind if you can just get the why. Because a lot of times you can just get stuck in the how,
All right.
you know.
I'm guilty of that. Yeah, you threw me for a loop for a second. I thought you were going down the path of we're not fostering a service for the new generation of firefighters because we're stuck in old times. And you completely had my attention. I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
I understand there's a point, there's a place, and, you know, but I just don't feel that, like, if you come to my house, it's my house. I don't need to change my house for you to come over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to be welcome in my house, you know, yes, maybe something. I can do a little something, but
Preach.
you know, like you're coming here. You know, this is, I didn't, you know, you wanted to do this.
You chose no
Yeah,
way. I
you
mean, you
chose it.
chose to
I
do
didn't
this.
make you.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. Like we're completely changing, or not completely, but we're trying to change everything to do away with the way things were to foster the new people, or, you know, that's the thing that I hate the most is when you either go to a firehouse that you're working a shift trade or overtime shift or whatever, and somebody's just sitting over there in the corner on their phone or on their tablet or whatever, and that's all they're doing. And it's like, what? And like, oh, this is the normal. Like, this is, I don't like it.
It's
You
only
know,
normal
it's-
because you've allowed it to be normal.
Correct.
Well, that is
yes.
probably part of it. You know, it's definitely an issue in the company, but
And
you
we're
know-
all guilty of being on our phones at
oh
times.
yeah, for sure. But
like,
you know, to make that the normal
Yeah.
is I have a problem with that.
Yeah, Captain Chris Geary. It's been a pleasure.
It's been real. I
Hey.
appreciate y'all.
Are we gonna break out a whiskey for him to try?
Dude, we got to do it.
Dude.
Yeah. Hey, give me the piece of paper. Jeremy,
I'm working on it.
Do your
Calm
job.
down. Where's the piece of paper?
Do I have to keep the headphones on?
no, you can leave them on.
That's a father that can do that. Yeah. Answer your question with the negative, but as a positive. Oh, you can do that.
Yeah, you can leave them on.
Not the glasses.
I have one left. I have like 2 of these left.
Oh no, we're
So-
running out of solo cups.
I've got a glass right here. Turns out it's
There's a
empty.
sheet right there.
Okay. You got the sheet. All right. So, fun fact about this one we talked about this several episodes ago about how maybe we're going to start sampling spirits.
Yes.
By spirits, I mean whiskey
Right.
or bourbon. I'm down for anything except tequila, and then I'll just live vicariously through them because that's my line. I don't have many lines. Yeah, morally, ethically, I don't have many. I don't have many lines, but that's one. So, yeah. So my sister was cool enough for my birthday. She gave me this this subscription. It's called Pour More. Like, not sponsored or anything like that, but probably should be after this. Yeah. So they send you a bottle of whiskey per month, and I'm assuming, because I haven't researched it, but I'm assuming that it's based on your subscription base is the kind of quality that you get. But yeah, it comes with this cool little certificate and all that good stuff. But then it sends you a bottle of whatever you want, and then it gives you a cool little recipe on the inside, and then it gives you a story about the distillery.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool. I've never heard of this company.
Where's it from?
What's the name of that there, Jeremy? Penny
Wheat penny.
Wheat Penny. Okay. All right. So according to the brochure I got, all right, it's a distiller in Cleveland whiskey. It was
Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland Wheat Penny 1958 bourbon. Producer Cleveland whiskey. Owner Tom Links. Type bourbon whiskey. And this is Cleveland, Ohio for all you non-geographical people.
Smells
me.
like a whiskey.
Does it?
Smells
Okay.
like whiskey?
There's a cool little story. I'm not going to read that. I'll put it up in the show notes, or I'll have Jeremy put it, or Steve, somebody put it up in the show notes. I'll take a picture of it or something, and somebody can put it up in the show notes. I'm not going to read that out loud because I don't want to butcher it. But so let's give it a taste, and we're going to give it, we're going to give it a score. If it's garbage,
Say it's garbage.
I'm going to say it's garbage. So thank you, Candace, my sister, for the subscription.
Yeah, thanks, Candace.
It burned my eyes a little bit.
It's got some sting.
It does. It does.
Don't bite.
It's not awful.
It's not awful.
I've drank worse, for sure.
It's in the neighborhood
Compare it.
of a Woodford Reserve.
Okay.
Or
I was going to go Knob Creek.
I was getting ready to say Knob Creek. Yeah,
Bro, that's-
Woodford Reserve, Knob Creek.
Yeah.
I'm in that.
I would
little-
go to Knob Creek.
Yeah.
To me, it's a little less subtle than a Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark has a distinctive flavor to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Knob Creekish. I would say Knob
My
Creekish.
lips are a
I
little
drink it.
numb. Yeah, that's.
Let me read the ingredients.
Yeah, it's got some what's up on it.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
It's got whiskey in it.
So, cool. Yeah, score 1 to 10.
It was
Five,
all right.
five,
but I
five,
wouldn't buy
five.
it.
I'd
Yeah.
say
5-5.
six, yeah, 5
Yeah,
or
5-5. I think it would be a good compliment with maybe the mixed drink that they put in
What is
in
the
here
mixed
with
drink?
it.
Yeah, what
You
was
can
that
read
called?
it. I'm not